All right, guys, here we go with the notes for Chapter 14, talking about customer success. After all, we are in this, yes, to make money, but also make sure that we are satisfying the needs of the client. So here we go. In the pre-digital era, salespeople were paid commissions that rewarded them for getting accounts, but not necessarily for keeping them. So you would earn commissions based on what you sold, and that does include existing clients as well as new clients. But the commissions didn't really cover what you did to help make sure that the client was receiving everything that they were looking for. You were actually only paid on the sale itself. So now, because salespeople, not illogically, are going to do what they're paid to do, usually wasn't a priority to service accounts or make sure that they got results and were successful. So they were very much focused on going out and getting the contracts, getting them signed, making sure the billing was taken care of so that the company got paid, so that they got paid. Makes perfect sense. But part of the process needs to include making sure that the customer is happy with what they are receiving. They understand the logistics and all that's going on. So that being neglected is a problem. In the pre-digital era, advertisers negotiated and paid for available inventory on television networks, television stations, and top-rated radio stations based on the relative scarcity of that inventory. So it was that sense of supply and demand. There was only a limited supply, so the value would be dependent on how much supply or how much availability of advertising time there was. Now, when most digital advertising supported platforms and publishers began taking responsibility for the success of their customers, it raised advertisers' expectations. So now the value in the advertising isn't so much just in the amount of advertising that there is or the lack thereof with the scarcity issue, but there's the fact that now you have these infinite possibilities for exposure, but there's expectations that come along with that, being able to see certain results, making sure that the message is getting out there in a particular way. There's a lot more that can be done in terms of making sure that the customer is satisfied with everything, as opposed to just the urgency of the limited amount of inventory that is available, because inventory is no longer an issue. Advertisers no longer willing to take their chances as a result when they invest in advertising. Advertisers wanted a clearly demonstrable return on their investment. They wanted results that they could measure. Hence the new metrics, hence the showing of the evidence of the proof of performance and things like that. And there's a lot of ways to be able to do the checks and balances on those things that weren't always necessarily there in traditional media and advertising in traditional media. So we're talking about selling an intangible service. Advertising very much dealing with that concept of time and not so much in space. You know, it's not something we can touch or smell or taste or anything like that. So it's intangible. Now, how do these services differ? Well, for a service to work, both the service provider and the consumer or the customer have to participate. In other words, one party provides, the other receives. That's how services work. There's that transference of the particular phenomenon from one to the other. In our case, the advertising. Most services involve many interactions between buyer and seller, and this includes a certain amount of collaboration, a sort of teamwork that happens. You know, we've talked about the process of learning as much as you can and listening to clients when you're trying to put together the solutions that you're going to provide for them in terms of what you inform them with your educating step, also in the negotiations and hammering out all the details and things like that. And that takes some give and take. You need information from the client in order to be able to make all of those things manifest. So it does take a bit of a cooperative effort. With services, it's hard for customers to know in advance exactly what it is that they're getting. They can't necessarily quantify it in the way that you can look at something and see that you're getting X amount of a product or something like that. And there's also going to be the sense that while the product itself is not necessarily tangible, the results are not necessarily tangible. The results may vary. Even if you do the same thing at one particular point in time with another, all those things are going to be issues and variables in terms of what's going to happen in terms of results in a particular time, in a particular instance. Customers of a service do not own what they pay for. They experience it. Customers cannot return a service. You can't package it back up, take it to customer service, and get a refund for it in that sort of way. There's no market for used experiences. So basically, the customer is going to be left with this sense of whether or not they have actually received what they believe they should receive in the way that they expect to receive it. And then the recourse is either to go and use that service again or to not, based on their satisfaction. The benefits of services after they have been purchased must be tangibilized. This can be done through a stewardship report. Now, what's a stewardship report? Basically, it's an accounting of the things that have been done in order to service a client. Some examples, including number of commercials that ran within a flight, number of contacts initiated by the media company, copy improvements. What sort of ways did you refine the message over a period of time? Content creation in and of itself, various creative services, the ways that you present the advertising in and of itself, various posts on social media, and ways that the station has helped to improve the client's business outside of advertising, providing insights to the business, letting them know about different things happening throughout the community, maybe different things that you've seen within the industry or within certain competitors. All those things have a value to them, and those are things that can be shown to a client to say, this is how we tried to help you achieve success. Digital era pre- and post-sale processes. Management has to clearly define every step in the sales process for their media company. It must fit the unique needs of each media organization and each individual customer. Not a lot of opportunity for cookie cutter stuff here. If you're going to provide results for a particular customer, there's going to be different things that need to be done because they have different expectations or they have a different set of circumstances to which they need to have addressed. So it's not one size fits all. We talk about different types of media. And here we're not talking about the various mediums. We're not talking about television or radio or things like that. What we're talking about here is in terms of kind of the logistics of the media ownership, if you will. And this is especially true when we're talking about new media and stuff that's happening online. But we can really talk about this with any particular medium. So 3 different types of media. Paid media is where an advertiser pays for media exposure, what we traditionally think of as advertising. There is owned media. This would be any sort of messaging to which a company has direct control over. That would be things like their website, any apps that they make available to the public, their particular social media pages. Even though they're using different platforms run by different companies, we tend to categorize social media pages as owned media in that the company, the brand, the organization has control of the narrative of what's going on with the original posts that they create there. So the third type of media is earned media, media that is shared, liked, reposted, retweeted, that is done by others. And this has a lot of currency in the online world. When someone shares something that your brand, your organization has created. That shows a certain amount of approval, a certain amount of endorsement, and that's really the online equivalent of word of mouth advertising. That is something that they have deemed is an important enough message that they are willing to share it. Plus, companies don't have to pay for that. That's kind of nice there. So that earned media is really a huge commodity in this day and age. Inform your client of your social media efforts on their behalf and share results with them as a result. It also reinforces your case if you can put an approximate monetary value on the earned media that was generated. This type of effort clearly tangibilizes your service and your commitment to customer success. So this is one of those things where, yeah, it's rather difficult to charge for something like this, but it's definitely something that you can include in one of those stewardship reports to say that we did this amount of work for you online, linking back to your social media accounts, linking to your web page, promoting your stuff within our particular platforms and the followers that we have. And we estimate that reach to be worth so much money. The added value there is a huge asset in helping a customer recognize that you are providing a valuable service to them. Service design must be proactive and not reactive. Service design involves choices, actions, and consequences. It is this sense in which we are trying to be very conscious about what we're doing, why we're doing it, and we're doing it without any sort of prompting or prodding. That it's things that we are taking initiative in doing. It's about delivering on your promises to customers in accordance with your strategy, and it's not about acceding to everything a customer requests. So yes, we do want to accommodate our clients as much as possible, but we also don't want to be overrun by them. We talked a little bit about that kind of idea within the chapter of negotiating, that we don't want to be continually giving and giving and giving to the point that we wind up giving them much more than what we intended to in terms of the give and take of a agreement or a contract, to the point where we are servicing them so much that they are getting much more value than what they have paid for, and in essence, we lose money in doing that. But we do want to service in such a way that we deliver on our promises, and we want to show those things and show that we have been proactive in doing them. Some rules of service design. Number 1, consistency. Service design creates consistency. Consistency here means that your customers can expect the same experience every time they interact with you. In other words, be real. Be genuine in the way that you interact with them. Be the same person when you're in front of them as when you're back in the office. When you say you're going to do something, follow through on it. Keep good on your promises. Rule number 2, automate everything except for the hugs. I'm kind of put hugs in quotation marks here. We're not saying you need to go out and be touchy-feely with everybody that you do business with, but you do want to make sure that you're developing a relationship in such a way that there is a little bit of personality there, that there's some emotional connections that are happening. But the more that you can automate things and let the computer handle things, assuming the computer is programmed correctly, it is going to reduce the amount of errors and mistakes that are made, and it allows you as the salesperson to be able to focus on the personal aspect. Rule number 3, the customer is always right if they are the right customer. Who's the right customer? The right customer is a profitable customer and a customer that you are prepared to service in every sense. So again, this goes back to that sense of, when you're working with a customer, when you're working with a client, that you're able to provide the value to them, and that it is in such a way that from a logistical, from a monetary standpoint, that it is benefiting you in terms of receiving revenue and receiving repeat business to continue to service that customer. The right customer is also the customer that you want to retain, because retaining customers is more profitable than getting them. You've already sold to this client once. You keep them happy, you're most likely going to be able to sell to them again, as opposed to having to go out and drum up brand new business. Now, we need new business in order for continued growth, but to be able to retain business, if we're doing everything we're supposed to do in terms of making sure that we're providing customer success, is going to be a lot easier, because the relationships are already established. The logistics of how each other works is already there. There's less work involved, and it's generally going to be more enjoyable and fulfilling. Now, designing the customer journey. The nature of the customer's experience with a company is a key deciding factor in whether or not they will choose to buy. Now, when we talk about experience, an experience covers every touch point with a customer, from the very first contact, whether it's in person, via email, via the phone, whatever, to educating the prospect or the agency that you're dealing with, to negotiating and closing, to the actual agreement and the purchase, to ensuring customer success, and then on to the renewal. There's going to be a factor in every single one of those things that the customer is going to take in and assess and drum that all up and basically come up with the answer to the question for themselves: how is it working with you? So we can't drop the ball during any of these stages of the sales process, not before the sale is made and not after the sale is made. We want to make sure the full experience is a positive one for those that we are selling to. So some touch points, they should function as an alignment of these 10 elements. You see them on your screen here: empathy, expectation, emotion, elegance, engagement, execution, engineering, economics, experimentation, and equivalence. All of these things are going to be elements to which we are able to make an impact on those that are our clients. So we want to make sure that we don't drop the ball on any of these things. Now, back to the rules of service design. Number 4, design the entire customer journey, not just parts of it, in order to delight customers. Why do we want to delight, besides the fact that it makes them happy and makes them feel good and hopefully makes us feel good? Well, delight creates goodwill between you and your customer. It creates a positive relationship. Delight improves retention and customer value. They're going to work with you when they know that you are working with them in a well-mannered and well-adjusted way. Delight generates good word of mouth. When you wow somebody, they're going to tell other people about the fact that you wowed them. And that could mean other leads. That could mean new business. And then say something happens that, you make a mistake, things don't run quite as stellar, or that the expectations that were expected were not met, something happens. If you've been delighting your customers throughout the entire process, they're going to be more apt to give you a break. Giving a vendor a break because of past excellent service almost always leads to repurchase and to renewal. Now, this also involves you owning up to whenever an issue or a problem arises, and you do everything within your power to resolve and maybe even make good or better than good on the situation that happened in an incorrect way. 85% of shoppers came back to a store, a product, or a service because of habit. And their habits were built on a trust that the product provided a solution that met their individual needs. This trust in a product solution is referred to as a solution premium. It's a really fancy way of saying when you give someone a great customer experience, they're more likely to deal with you again and again and again. All right. Manage your whales. When we're talking about whales here, we're talking about your largest advertising accounts. What tends to happen in the world of advertising is that you've got a small percentage of accounts that are actually going to represent the majority of your business. The numbers on the screen are not necessarily hard and fast, but you're going to think that you're going to have the top 10%, 20%, maybe the top third of your clients are going to be the vast majority of your business in terms of advertising revenue. Now, with that in mind, you want to be careful to not overfeed the whales. This is rule number 5. Now, there's a good and bad to having these large accounts. The good side is that a media organization can focus its attention on super serving their most profitable clients. So you can really put a lot of effort into them because they're going to generate the most revenue for you. However, losing a large account in that whale group can be devastating to the financial health of a media organization. So you don't want to put all of your eggs into, and you don't want to put all of your efforts into just dealing with those large accounts, because if one of them goes away, then you've lost a significant amount of your business, and you also haven't been paying attention to some of the smaller accounts. So some actually have a philosophy of saying, we don't really want big accounts. We'd like some mid-size accounts, some that are loyal, some that have decent-sized budgets, and we can have several of those that we manage and we kind of keep on top of and maintain. And it takes a different kind of effort to maintain those, as opposed to putting a lot of energy into a few really big accounts. And if one of the mid-size accounts goes away, it'll hurt a little, but not near as much as an extremely large account. And there often is going to be a tendency, because of the amount of money that they're spending, to do whatever it takes to keep the very large clients happy, which includes perhaps compromising on some of your standards and principles, making exceptions that you may not want to make in order to appease these larger accounts. And that is not a healthy environment to be in. A partnership means that both partners want the other to be successful and profitable, which is the reason that you want to make all of your clients partners. So there's got to be some give and take. There's got to be this sense that you two, both you, the salesperson, them, the client, are working in the best interest of each other. As salespeople, we need to take that first step in order to make that happen. But we want to make sure that as we are doing our goodwill, that we are not being overly taken advantage of, to the point that it really winds up not worth being the time and effort for what it is that we're realizing from a revenue standpoint. Rule number 6, handle mistakes and complaints immediately and honestly. When mistakes happen, it's vital to contact a customer immediately before the customer contacts you to complain about a missed ad, an undelivered sponsorship, or running the wrong ad or copy. Be upfront, be honest. Again, be real, and be sincerely contrite when you talk about these things. When you notify a customer about an error or mistake, also tell them what you're going to do to correct it. So own up to what you did and offer a solution immediately. Hopefully they'll like that. They may come back and say, no, I want something else. Do what you can. But when you show that you're already on an issue and you're offering solutions to fix the issue, that is going to show in a favorable way to most of the clients that you deal with. Rule 7, always get feedback from clients. In order to maintain consistency and to continually improve, you must have honest feedback so that you can refine and improve your customer success checklist. And by asking your customers for feedback, you not only honor them and increase their positive attitude about you and your company, you also get input into your sales and customer success process, and you can improve it. So we're always looking to do a little bit better for the benefit of the client and for the benefit of us, because it is cyclical. The more that we are altruistically reaching out and looking at the benefit of our customers, the more that they're going to be willing to work with us and over time perhaps even increase their business with us or tell others about us, and that our business could potentially increase in that way. And that's going to do it for Chapter 14. Finish up the notes and the study questions. Bring your thoughts to class. What are some of the times that you have received excellent customer service, or times that you haven't, and it's made the decision for you as to whether or not you continue to frequent a particular business? Think about those things. How does that work in terms of what we do in media sales and how we put the customer's best interest at heart before, during, and after the sale? Bring your thoughts. We'll talk about it in class.